We're here on an initial permanency hearing. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Jackson is covering for Mr. Taylor, who I understand has been hospitalized again. Hope he's doing better. The father, Mr. Dockery, is not with us. The mother, Ms. Castro, is not with us. I've got a lot of people in the waiting room, but I have Vince Nowak. I'm not showing him. Does anybody know why he might be here? I'm not showing him on the next few hearings.
Judge, he is the mother's attorney on this case. I don't know why the docket still shows Bill Taylor, but there's been a substituted order for Vince Nowak, represents mom, because I've actually talked to him last week about this case.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Ingram. We'll get him in, and I'll make a note for Haley. She's not with us again today. They had a follow-up appointment in Lubbock today, so.
And Miley is supposed to join in from school, so I have no idea what name that she might be under.
Okay, I'll get to that list here in just a minute. And I've already called the case, Mr. Nowak. I still showed Mr. Taylor being Ms. Castro's lawyer, and he's hospitalized, so Mr. Jackson was going to cover. That's what that was all about. So,
yes, sir.
Okay, for the record, then Mr. Nowak is here representing the mother, Ms. Castro. Mr. Nowak, she's not in my waiting room. Were you expecting her?
Yeah, I've talked to her several times, and as recently as earlier today, Judge, and I just got a text message saying she's downloading the app to her new phone.
Okay, all right.
She may pop in at some point, but
Here she is.
The court has okay, excellent.
She just got in with us, so.
Excellent.
Thank you, Judge. I call Shay Grant.
Okay. Ms. Grant, if you'd raise your right hand, please. You swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wiggins, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Grant, how are you currently employed?
I'm a permanency specialist with St. Francis Ministries.
And are you the permanency specialist for Miley?
Yes.
And where is Miley currently placed?
She's with paternal grandparents here in Amarillo.
And how is she doing in that placement?
Overall, she's doing well. We've had some struggles with her mental health, mostly related to her not having any contact with mom or being with mom. But she's addressing all those issues in therapy.
Okay, and she's seeing Leanne Lefevre, is that correct?
Yes.
And regarding school, where is she currently, or how is she doing in school?
She's doing okay. Working on bringing her grades up. She has gotten into a couple of incidents at school. So she is currently in DAEP until the end of the year. But since being in there, she's doing better.
And is DAEP, that's kind of like an in-school suspension type program?
Yes.
And in that program, they are pretty strict on her not being able to wear makeup and her clothing and things like that?
Yes.
And given that she wants to be a cosmetologist, is she having a couple of issues with not being able to wear makeup?
In the beginning, she did. She just found out she got into the cosmetology program. So she's very excited about that. And it's helped her, I feel like, doing better.
That's awesome. Okay. And is that going to be through the main school or through school, the cosmetology program?
Yes, it'll start next year in Canyon at Midway.
Perfect. Okay. And in regards to the father, have you had any contact with Jason Dockery?
No, not since December.
And has he complied with any of his services at this time?
No.
And has he drug screened for the department at all since December?
No.
Now, regarding the mother, Evangeline Castro, has she worked any of her services?
No.
Has she drug screened for the department?
No.
And has she drug screened for the court when it was ordered?
No.
Now, in regards to Miley, you indicated that she's had some mental health issues. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Leanne is aware of the parents' progress. Is that right?
She is.
But she has made some recommendations for contact with the mother just to help with Miley's mental health. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, is Ms. Castro aware that this is not the department changing its trajectory since she's not working services, but that this is for Miley's mental health?
Yes, she is.
And is Leanne proposing something like once a month therapeutic visitation with the mother?
Yes.
And is the department in agreement due to Miley's mental health?
Yes.
And was that the only recommendation that Leanne had at this time?
She's also recommending the IOP program for Miley. It's the intensive outpatient through Northwest Behavioral Health.
Okay, and are we working with Miley and her placement to get that set up?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, are we requesting any drug screens today?
Yes.
What drug screens are we requesting?
UA and hair follicle for Miss Castro.
Okay, are we asking for the father as well?
Yes.
All right, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nowak.
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Ingram.
Shay, are you aware that Leanne Lefevre has actually provided us with a written recommendation with regard to Molly's contact with her mother?
Yes.
And Judge, at this time, I'd ask to admit Leanne's written recommendation. It's been provided to all the parties, and no one had objection to admitting that, as opposed to having her have to testify. It's been provided to all the parties and to the court. I believe it was marked as ad litem's number 1.
Okay, it probably got provided to Miss Morrow, who's been out for more than a week, so I've not seen it. But does anybody else object to admission of Miss Lefevre's recommendations?
No, Your
objection,
Honor.
Judge.
Okay, I can, if you'll, Mr. Ingram, if you'll send it to my email, I'll look at it. But I've got absolute faith in Miss Lefevre, so I don't necessarily have to see it to make my ruling today. So.
Yes, sir. I'll ask Andy to email it directly to you because I know she did email it to.
Okay,
Amy.
she could have sent it to me and I didn't get it. I don't know. Okay, then does anybody else have further questions for Ms. Grant?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Okay, all right. Then Mr. Nowak, do you have any
No
witnesses?
witnesses, rest, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement with the grandparents at this time, and ask that the court order the therapeutic visitation between Miley and her mother.
Okay. All right, thank you. Give me just a second here. I don't know if I said it, but petitioner, I'm sorry, ad litem's exhibit number 1 is admitted.
Judge, may I ask Ms. Grant a couple of follow-up questions? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Grant, what do you believe would be contrary to the child's welfare to be returned to either parent today?
Yes.
And do you believe it would be a continuing danger for her to be returned to either parent today?
Yes.
And have we attempted to engage Ms. Castro in services as an attempt to reunify the child with the mother?
Yes, we have.
Nothing further, Judge.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue the current placement. I'll order both parents to hair strand and UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. I will order, Mr. Nowak, you can discuss this with your client. I'm going to order that Ms. Castro have visitation with Miley as recommended by Leanne Lefevre in ad litem's exhibit 1. That's dependent, though, upon your client drug testing today. She's no-showed countless times, 7 times that I count. So that visitation is not going to start until she drug screens.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, then. Okay. We will have our next hearing, a permanency hearing on July 29th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing. So parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or 2 in advance of July 29th to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. So.
Here on a permanency hearing. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Mr. Nowak is with us representing the mother. I don't show her in the waiting room. Mr. Nowak, were you expecting her?
I just talked to her 30 minutes ago, Judge, and I talked to her last week. I am expecting her. Yes, sir.
Okay. I have someone, I don't recognize this name. I've got Shay Grant, which I know who she is. I've got a Linda Sturgeon in the waiting room. Do we know who that is?
Judge, that's the placement, and I suspect Miley is with her because she wanted to sit in on the hearing.
Okay. All right. Then I'll get both of them in. We've got everybody now. So Ms. Wiggins, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. I call Shay Grant.
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Grant, are you the worker for Miley?
Yes, I am.
And where is she currently placed?
She's here in Amarillo with paternal grandparents.
And how is she doing in that placement?
She's doing well. They are meeting all her needs and everything's going great.
Great. Now, in regards to the father, when was the last time you talked to Mr. Dockery?
Last week.
And is he currently out of state?
Yes.
And has he been able to work any services since going out of state?
He did start parenting classes with Fatherhood Fire.
Okay.
And that's been it.
And in regards to your conversation with him, when was the last time you spoke with him previous to last week?
It's been I think sometime in June.
Okay, so there was a gap of time that you hadn't had communication with him.
Yes.
Now, in regards to the mother, when was the last time you spoke with the mother?
Earlier this month.
And in regards to the mom, did she complete a UA drug screen?
She did.
Did she fail to complete a hair follicle?
Yes.
And are we asking that a hair follicle be ordered?
Yes.
And as per the last court order, it was ordered that the visitation would be stopped, or it would be at the direction of Miley's counselor, and mom must provide a UA and hair follicle drug screen. Just provide one. Is that correct?
Yes.
And since that report in April, she has failed to do so. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, in regards to the long-term goal for Miley, is that the department's intent to ask the court to order Miley's PMC to the grandparents and the parents to stay on as possessory?
Yes.
And have you spoken with placement about this?
I have.
And are they agreeable to this situation?
Yes, they are.
And is it fair to say that Miley's agreeable to this as well?
Yes.
Have you been able to talk to the father about this?
Yes, I have.
And what was his conclusion? What did he say to that?
He is in agreement with that as well.
Okay. Have you talked to the mom about this agreement?
Yes.
And what was her response?
Ms. Castro agrees as well.
And Judge, we are for procedural, we were not, Mr. Dockery doesn't have an attorney, and so I was not able to communicate with him, but we wanted to have this hearing just to get everybody's agreement that we modify the petition to add in the grandparents so we can make them permanent managing conservators at the end of the case.
Okay. All right. Any objections to that from anybody?
No.
No objection.
No.
Okay, then I will grant the department's motion to add the paternal grandparents as parties to the suit. Do we know their names?
I know Linda Sturgeon. What's the grandfather's name?
David.
David. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
And let's see, Miss Grant, do you believe it would be contrary to the child's welfare to be returned to her parents today?
Yes.
And are we asking for any drug screens for Mr. Dockery? If we're able to pay for them?
Yeah, we are. I've been able to set it up before.
Okay. And are we wanting a UA?
Yes.
And how long does it usually take to set those up?
I can get it today.
Okay. All right. Anything else that the judge needs to be aware of at this time?
No.
All right. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, where does Mr. Dockery, where is he living?
In
I live
Oregon.
in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay, and Miss Grant, have you, if y'all need to go in a breakout room when we're through so we can figure out how to get him drug tested, that's fine if you need to, or if you already know, that's good too, so.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Nowak, questions?
No questions, Judge.
All right. Mr. Dockery, do you have any questions for Miss Grant?
Your Honor, I did have a question for you though.
What's that?
Child support took away my driver's license, and I am really needing to get it reinstated in any possible way. You could tell me how to get that done?
I wouldn't have a clue in Oregon. I wouldn't really have a clue in Texas either. Number one, I can't give any kind of legal advice, but I wouldn't have a clue. I've been doing this job for 13 years, so I'm pretty much worthless about any other kind of law.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Blocker, you did hear this, what Ms. Grant testified to, that are you in agreement when we get this case concluded that the paternal grandparents be named conservators and then you and the mother be named possessory conservators?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I don't know if I couldn't tell from my notes. I don't know if I admonished you before about your right to an attorney if you can't afford one. Have I told you about that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that still remains. If you change your mind and want an attorney, you just contact our office or Miss Grant or anyone with St. Francis, and they'll get you the paperwork to fill out to get back to me.
Okay, I have it.
Thank you, sir. All right. Then Mr. Ingram, if you've got no witnesses, then recommendations.
Yes, sir. Continue department temporary managing conservator, continue placement as is. And I just like to say on behalf of Miley and that proud of progress she has made. She is head and shoulders above where she is today, doing the best she has since this case has started. And I'm just proud of the progress she's made.
Yeah, I want to say the same thing, Miley. I read the report. I read where you've been accepted to the cosmetology program next year at school and that you've got a summer job. Sounds like things are going great. Is there anything you need to tell me today, Miley?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, well, we're all proud of you. Are you on any kind of medications, Miley?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, then I will continue the department. First of all, I will grant the department's motion to add Linda and David Sturgeon as parties to the lawsuit so that we can facilitate the final based on what I've heard today. I will continue the department's temporary manager conservator, continue Miley's current placement, and I'll order Mr. Dockery to UA drug screen when that's possible for the department to pay for it. Ms. Grant, do you need a breakout room with Mr. Dockery to discuss that?
No, sir.
Okay,
Would
y'all
you-
can work it out then.
And
Yes.
Judge, are you ordering mom to to hair follicle? I'm sorry.
I forgot. Yeah. I'll order Miss, is she, as far as, do we know where she's at?
I believe she's still in Amarillo, but Miss Grant.
Then I will order Miss Castro to hair strand drug screen by 4 p.m. today at Care Express in Amarillo. Okay, I'll set a final in this case for September 30th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on a court's online docket a day or two in advance of September 30th to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. So, all right. Miley, thanks for joining us. You're welcome to join us anytime you want. Just let either Miss Grant or Mr. Ingram know, and we'll be sure that you can attend these hearings.
Okay.
Okay.
We're here.
Y'all have a
on
good
the
week.
permanency
We'll stand in
hearing.
recess till 11
Wiggins is
o'clock,
with
and
us
then
for
I
the
will call
department.
another Randall County.
Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Mr. Jackson's with us representing the mother, Miss Hable, who is with us. And Mr. Michelson's with us representing the father, Mr. Armstrong, who's with us. Before we get started, Mr. Armstrong, if you take off your cap, and I noticed you were vaping or smoking, we are in a courtroom, even though we're on television, so no smoking. You've got this down. You unmute and have your hand up before I can say anything.
You get used to it.
All right, Ms. Wiggins, you may proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. McIntyre, are you the worker assigned to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And how is Emberly doing in her placement?
She's doing well.
And who is she placed with?
She is placed with maternal grandmother.
And is she attending any type of school or daycare?
She is attending school and she loves it. She's made friends and she's enjoying her school time.
And is she in pre-K?
Yes.
And is she up to date on all of her medical?
Yes, she is.
And is she in any type of counseling?
No, maternal grandmother and I did talk about getting that going this weekend when I met with them.
But it seems like she has acclimated to being with her grandmother at this time. Is that right?
That's correct.
And she's not on any medications.
No, ma'am.
Now, in regards to the mother, Miss Hable, is she starting services?
She is starting services.
And the biggest issue for Miss Hable is her sobriety. Is that correct?
Sobriety and her medical.
Okay. And she does have diabetes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so she's been having some medical issues of going in and out of the hospital. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And has the department been working on with her regarding her services and understanding that she may not be able to progress as quickly as we would like, but that's due to her medical condition?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, has she signed up for the outpatient service for medical treatment?
So her and I actually talked this weekend. She's going to go to Senecor, and I'm going to go with her.
Okay, is that an inpatient or outpatient?
Yes. She wants to do the 30-day inpatient.
Okay, great. And has she been compliant on drug screens when she's not in the hospital?
She hasn't taken her drug screen yet, but her and I spoke on Saturday that after this hearing, I'm going to go pick her up and we're going to go get that hair follicle done today.
Okay, great. Now, regarding Mr. Armstrong, he has started the Batters Intervention and Prevention Program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he's also started his individual counseling.
That's correct.
And due to his employment, we want him to focus on those two before he does any other services.
That's correct.
And has he been complying with you regarding drug screens?
Yes, we just had a hair follicle come back clean. So he's doing well in that area.
And Miss Hable and Mr. Armstrong are together. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, in regards to visitation, are they having visitation with the child?
Yes, they are.
And how are visitations going?
They're going great. I actually got to witness an in-person one on Saturday. They have a great bond with their child and it went really well.
Now, let's see. Is there anything additional that needs to be ordered regarding Ms. Hable? Are we asking that the program be ordered for her, the Cinecor program?
Yes, I would like that since that's something she's wanting to do. And that an OSAR, when she took her OSAR, it was recommended that she go to Serenity. She checked herself out of Serenity because she said there were drugs present. So she would like to go to Cinecor to get on top of her addiction and her past drug use.
Okay. So we're just asking that it be ordered instead of, because she completed the OSAR, so we're just asking that Cinecor be ordered as the inpatient.
That's correct.
And are we asking for those drug screens to be ordered? I know you said you were going to take her.
Yes, I would like for it to be ordered today for her hair follicle today, please.
Okay. And regarding Mr. Armstrong, you indicated that he just recently took a screen. So is there any requests for any?
No, ma'am.
Now, in regards to Mr. Armstrong, he's completing those 2 services. Are we requesting any additional services at this time?
No, ma'am.
Now, do you believe it would be contrary to the child's welfare to be returned to either parent today?
Yes.
Do you believe that the department has attempted to mitigate the reasons for removal and for reunification by offering services and visitation?
That's correct.
And are we optimistic about these wanting to go to complete outpatient and completing our parenting and not parenting, I'm sorry, our BIT program, and that we're making progress towards reunification?
I definitely think so. I met with them for the first time on Saturday, and they're very determined to get their kid back in their home, whatever it takes. They're both driven. Even though Alexis has had her medical stuff, she's very driven to get past that, do whatever it needs to take care of herself so that she can be a good girlfriend as well as mom.
Okay. All right. And I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. Ms. McIntyre, did you say you want Ms. Hable to just hair strand today?
Yes, hair straight. That's what was already asked by the previous case manager. She just hadn't been able to do it since being in the hospital.
Okay, but you don't need a UA today?
Let's do UA and hair follicle.
Okay. All right, Mr. Jackson.
Yep, Ms. McIntyre, based on your testimony and what you were telling the court about your interaction with Ms. Hable, would it be a fair statement to say that Ms. Hable's been cooperative with you?
She's been cooperative with me. We just met, but she, after getting better from her medical, she seems to want to do what it needs to take to get her kid home.
Would you characterize her with regard to this case as a motivated parent?
With meeting her one time, I would definitely say, as of right now, yes.
Okay, all right, Your Honor, I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. McIntyre, your testimony was that Tyler is the primary worker in the family.
I did not testify to that, but I will allude to that. He is the primary, what he calls breadwinner in the home, and he has given me his pay stubs, and I have been able to verify that.
Okay. And your previous testimony was that you've narrowed the scope of services at the present time due to his employment.
That's correct. And we talked about parenting, and he's going to get on top of that as well.
Okay. And one of those services that the department desires him to complete at the present time is the BIP program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how is his progress in the BIP program?
He reported to me that he's done 13 of the 18, and the progress is going well. And when he goes on Wednesdays.
Okay. You don't get intermittent reports from BIP?
I haven't yet, but I will be reaching out to get those reports.
Okay. And finally, has Tyler talked to you about a possible home study for his mother?
He has not, but him and I talked this weekend that if she wants to contact me and have visits, if she can pass a drug screen and background check, I don't mind giving grandparents visits. But moving her from the maternal grandmother at this time, I don't think would be in Emberly's best interest because she's acclimated and she's making friends and enjoys her school.
Okay. Were you aware that the paternal grandmother has been the primary caregiver in the past?
No, sir.
Okay. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
All right. Anyone else have follow-ups for Ms. McIntyre?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Swiggins, then any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any witnesses?
Your Honor, I don't have any witnesses. I would just ask at the conclusion of this hearing that you would place my client and I in a breakout room, please.
Okay. Mr. Michelson, any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ingram, recommendations.
Continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement with maternal grandmother. Child's doing very well in that placement, no concerns.
Okay. All right, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue Emberly's current placement. I'll order Ms. Hable to successfully complete the Senate Court inpatient drug program. And I will order that Ms. Hable complete a hair strand drug screen by 4 p.m. today. Sounds like the parents are very motivated and they've gotten off to a good start. I understand Ms. Hable's had some health problems that may have slowed her down, but sounds like everybody's off to a good start. Having Mr. Armstrong having that much of his BIP program done already at the initial permanency hearing, that's unusual. So kudos to you, Mr. Armstrong. Okay, I will set the next hearing for a permanency hearing for July 29th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or so in advance of July 29th to see exactly. This is a Texas Family First case. Ms. Wiggins is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram's with us representing the child. Ms. Mullinex is with us representing the mother. Ms. Blackwell, who is with us. Okay, thank you. Ms. Wiggins?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Jepcott, are you covering the Blackwell case today?
Yes,
And how are you related to this case?
I am the family-based safety services supervisor over the case.
And can you give the court an update on how the mother is doing in the case?
Yes, Miss Blackwell is actively engaged in all services requested of her through the court order and recommended by the Child Protective Services. She is doing well in the family-centered treatment program with St. Francis. Ms. Blackwell recently drug tested at the end of March on an alcohol UA and was negative. She started every service we've asked of her. There's been a few glitches with like timeframes and things, but we are integrating different services that address the same issues and provide the same type of service to ensure that she continues without too much delay.
Okay, and it does look like there is a slight delay in getting the child into counseling, but we are working on that. Is that correct?
Yes, she should start soon if she has not started already. Family Support Services was working on getting her with an associate so that she could start sooner.
Are there any other services that we need to ask the court to order, Ms. Blackwell?
No, not at this time.
Do you believe it would be in the child's best interest and the mother's best interest to continue this order to participate?
Yes.
And do you believe that they would benefit from continued services?
Yes, they would.
All right, I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mullinex?
I have no questions.
All right, Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right. Ms. Wiggins, sounds like things are going smoothly. Any other witnesses?
No, we're very glad that everything's going well and are just asking for a compliance hearing in a couple of months.
Okay. All right, Ms. Mullinex, did you have any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor, rest.
Okay. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Just continue with the order to participate. By all reports, the child's doing very well with the mother.
Okay. Give me just a second. All right, then. I will order Ms. Blackwell to continue working the services previously ordered, which obviously she's jumped on and doing very well with. So congratulations, Ms. Blackwell. Ms. Wiggins, I have a compliance hearing. I can do one on May 13th or June 3rd.
Let's just do June 3rd. I think everything is going well.
Okay. All right. I'll set a compliance hearing just like today's hearing for June 3rd. It will be by Zoom just like today's hearing was. So parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket a day or two in advance of June 3rd to see exactly what time we'll have that hearing. Okay. That will conclude this hearing. Child, we're here on an adversary hearing. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the child. Ms. Mullinex is with us representing the alleged father, Mr. Eagleston. We're still waiting. There's Mr. Adams. He's in the waiting room. Let me get him in. Okay, Mr. Adams is now with us representing the mother, Miss Wilburn, who is with us. That accounts for all the parties. Before we get started, Mr. Eagleston, if you'd unmute, please.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. On your application for a court-appointed attorney, you checked the box saying that you acknowledge you're Anna Lee's father, but then you also checked the box that you wanted paternity testing. So I need to go over, explain a little bit about that to you, and then if you need to talk to your lawyer, that's fine. You can't have both. If you want paternity testing, I'm going to order that today. If you are found to be the father, nothing changes. You've got Ms. Mullinax representing you, and we just go down the road. If it turns out you're not the father, then you'll be dismissed from this case, and obviously, you won't need it, Ms. Mullinax as your attorney, because you'll no longer be involved in the case. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll go ahead and go today since she's here. Do you want the paternity testing? I'll order it today if you do, or if you want to wait, we don't necessarily have to do that today. You can discuss that with Ms. Mullinax. If you haven't, we'll have other hearings possibly, or we won't have any more hearings and it won't be material. So you want to wait and visit with Ms. Mullinax before you make that decision?
I'm fine with continuing.
And Your Honor, we have discussed that decision, and he indicated to me that he wanted DNA testing, and that was in our answer. So if he's changed his mind, obviously, I don't know, but.
Okay. You want the testing, Mr. Eagleson?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll order that as part of the order today, whatever happens, unless this case goes away. Then there would be no need for it. So, okay. Then that having been said, I have Malia Evans and Mel Tucker in the waiting room.
Your Honor, if they could both be allowed in, please.
Okay.
Your Honor, sorry for being a minute late. Could I have a breakout room with Miss Gutierrez and Miss Mullinax?
Sure. And Mr. Ingram?
I think. Yeah, okay. Mr. Ingram, please.
All right. Let me get that set up. All right. It looks like everyone's back. Where do we stand?
We have a partial agreement, Your Honor. Mr. Adams' client is agreeable for the department to be named temporary managing conservator, and she is agreeable to work services as well. I believe we're going forward with a contested adversary hearing with Mr. Eagleston's part of the case.
Okay, is that correct, Ms. Mullinax?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then Ms. Gutierrez, you can call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls, well, before I start with that, do I have a Monica Dominguez in the waiting room or no?
No, ma'am. Right now, I don't have anybody in the waiting room.
That's okay. I call Malia Evans as my witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Malia, who do you work for?
The Department of Family and Protective Services.
And what do you do for them?
I'm an investigator.
And when was the intake received?
Intake was received on February 22nd, 2024.
And what were those intake allegations?
There was concerns that the mother, Jessica Wilburn, and uncle were using illegal substances in the presence of the child in the home.
And during your investigation, did Jessica Wilburn admit to recent methamphetamine use?
She did, yes.
And was she also the primary caretaker for the child?
Yes.
And what attempts did you make to arrange for the safety of the child?
I spoke with Ms. Wilburn about a safety plan wherein she would be supervised by another family member or other person. While all of her contact would be supervised with her child. And we also discussed a possible parent-child safety placement. But Ms. Wilburn stated she had no one who could supervise her and would not agree for the child to leave the residence without her going with her.
And did the department consider that parent-child safety placement option to be refused?
Yes.
And additionally, after the child was removed, strike that. During your investigation, did you have concerns of drug use by other members in Ms. Wilburn's household?
Yes.
And would a protective order removing Ms. Wilburn from that household have solved the issue of safety for the child?
No.
Now, during your investigation, did you also interview Mr. Eagleston?
Yes.
And did he inform you that he was not on the birth certificate?
Yes.
Did he additionally state that he wanted paternity testing?
That was discussed, yes.
Okay. What concerns did he raise, if any, of Jessica's mental health?
He stated that he felt she was really overwhelmed with all that she had going on with the baby and not having work and things like that.
And later in your investigation, did you have an additional conversation with him about possibly being placement for the child?
Yes.
And how did he respond to that?
He stated he would be willing to take the child into his home if that needed to happen.
And during the investigation, did he indicate whether or not he was willing to take a drug test?
At that time, during that conversation, he did not. He declined to take a drug screen.
What concerns had been raised by Ms. Wilburn regarding Mr. Eagleston's possible drug use?
She alleged that he had a history of cocaine use. She thought maybe he was recently clean, but did not know for sure.
And in your conversation with Mr. Eagleston prior to the removal, did he make any statements regarding marijuana use?
Let's see here. He had said that he had used marijuana in the past, but it had been a year or two. He denied any recent use.
So when you have drug concerns raised by one parent about another, does that cause concern for the department?
Yes.
Does that also raise the issue or make the issue more important of a parent drug testing?
Yes.
Can you describe the reasonable efforts you made to prevent removal of the child?
I spoke with Ms. Wilburn about putting a safety plan in place to have her contact with her child supervised at all times. And I also offered to see if we could do a parent-child safety placement. And we did initially speak with her sister. However, Jessica was not comfortable with the baby leaving the residence if she did not go with her. And
I apologize, interrupted. Please continue.
And so we did not move forward with that because she was not in agreement.
And during your investigation, did Ms. Wilburn also make statements that she was against the child going with Mr. Eagleston?
I believe so, yes. Because of the drug use, possible drug use.
Now, following the removal of the child, did Mr. Eagleston proceed to drug screen?
Yes.
Without telling me, or rather, when you asked him again after the removal, how did he respond?
When I asked him to drug screen?
Yes.
He stated he would do so, yes.
Did he raise any concerns about possible positives?
Yes, he did talk about neighbors and possibly, I think it was the apartment below him that were smoking marijuana, and concerns that it may have filtered into his home and exposed him.
Now, once you received his drug screens back, what did Mr. Eagleston say in response to the results?
He did say that hold on, let me just double check, make sure. Okay, he did tell me at that time that he was using a vape that has THC in it on occasion to help him sleep.
Would you agree that this contradicted the information he gave you during the investigation?
Yes.
Additionally, is it correct that Jessica Wilburn tested positive for amphetamine, methamphetamine, and marijuana during the investigation?
Yes.
Your Honor, the department offers petitioner's exhibit number 1.
Objections? All right, petition is submitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Malia, was the child also drug screened?
Yes, we did a hair follicle.
And What were the concerns with that drug screen?
I'm sorry, can you clarify the concerns as to why we drug screened?
No, the concerns with the child's drug screen results.
Okay, so her drug screen was positive for methamphetamine and for marijuana.
Okay. Where is the child currently placed?
She's in a foster home in Amarillo, Texas.
Have the parents had visitation with her since the removal?
Yes.
What is the department's position on potentially placing the child with Mr. Eagleston?
We do have concerns about the positive drug screen for marijuana. And additionally, Mr. Eagleston had indicated that he works a lot of hours. So facilitating childcare and being able to, care for the child was a question.
Additionally, with genetic testing pending, does that also cause concern of the potential stability of placement with Mr. Eagleston?
Yes.
And additionally, if Mr. Eagleston is correct that he is exposed to marijuana through the vents in his apartment, would that not create the potential for the child to be exposed if she were in that apartment as well?
Objection, speculation.
Thank.
Is the department conducting any home studies currently on any other family members?
I did request a home study on Tiffany Hunter, who's a maternal aunt.
See here. Pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Evans, what services does the department ask for Ms. Wilburn?
At a minimum, probably counseling and substance abuse treatment.
Would the department help her get into a inpatient substance abuse program?
That'd probably be a St. Francis question, but I believe so, yeah.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Mullinax.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Evans, whenever the child was removed, there was an affidavit completed for the reasons for removal. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was that one that you put together?
Yes.
And in that affidavit for removal that's attached to the original petition, it asserts some facts necessitating removal on number 6. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the only thing that's listed under that, those facts necessitating removal for Mr. Eagleston are that Ms. Wilburn expressed her concern that he was using cocaine. Is that right?
Correct.
And there are no other allegations with regard to Mr. Eagleston. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And after completing the investigation, were you able to substantiate any cocaine use by Mr. Eagleston?
No.
And you said that the child tested positive for methamphetamine. Is that right?
Yes.
Were there any facts that you were able to put together that showed that Mr. Eagleston was the reason that she tested positive for methamphetamine?
No.
And with regard to Mr. Eagleston, you said that genetic testing could cause, I guess, placement to be unstable. How does that translate into instability?
If the paternity testing came back that he was not the father, I mean, there's a potential that he would not want to continue caring for her, and then we'd have to move her again.
And even though he is an alleged father, is it possible if he's had a relationship with this child that he could be considered as a kinship placement?
Yes, I suppose there's a possibility of that, yeah.
And when you talked to Ms. Wilburn and Mr. Eagleston, did you have any indication that he had regular contact with this child?
It seemed like it was off and on, not necessarily like a weekly or regular schedule, but he did have contact with her, yes.
And so would he, even as an alleged father, would he qualify as a kinship placement due to his previous contact with the child? Or fictive kin even. I guess that'd maybe be the correct
I guess
one.
fictive kin would be at this time would be the best description, but I mean, he could possibly be considered, yes.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Ingram.
No questions.
Ms. Evans, was Mr. Eagleston's drug test, was it both hair strand and UA?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, anybody have further questions for Ms. Evans?
I just have one follow-up.
Okay.
Malia, would a kinship placement be considered by the department if that person tested positive for marijuana?
No.
Pass the witness.
Anyone else?
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
Ms. Evans, you've never filed the hair follicle results for Mr. Eagleston, correct?
No, I believe I filed them all.
And so if Odyssey reflects that you filed a UA and not a hair follicle, you say that there was a hair follicle filed?
Yeah, I'm checking right now. I'm looking at my filing. Yes, both were filed.
Can you get all of us copies of that hair follicle? I've never received it.
Yes.
Pass the witness.
Anyone else? All right, then. Ms. Gutierrez, have any other witnesses? I do have Monica Dominguez now is in the waiting room, and I have someone on a phone line ending in 297.
That's probably her for both, Your Honor, but we can just leave her there until we're done. I forewent on offering that exhibit since she didn't appear. Your Honor, the department does rest. We ask that the department be named temporary managing conservator and that Mr. Eagleston and Ms. Wilbur be named temporary possessory conservators. We ask that visitation be ordered as identified in the visitation schedules that are filed. Additionally, we ask for findings of reasonable efforts to prevent removal in determining that kick-out order or protective order would not suffice to ensure the safety of the child, that a PCSP was refused, and a safety plan was attempted but refused. Additionally, we ask for reasonable efforts to reunify, a finding for that since the removal, and making continued contact with the parents, having additional drug testing on the parents, as well as facilitating visitation.
Okay, so you're saying you want drug testing ordered today also?
No, Your Honor, I'm asking for a finding of reasonable efforts that as a part of our efforts to reunify, we did have drug testing conducted again on the parents.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right, then, Mr. Adams, do you have any witnesses?
Your Honor, the phone line in the waiting room may be Miss Wilburn.
Oh, is she falling off?
I don't see her.
Yeah, I don't either. Let's see who that is. Well, whoever's on the phone line apparently is not able to connect to the audio.
Your Honor, this is Monica Dominguez. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can now. I'm sorry. I had so much trouble this morning with this.
Okay, well, we've got you still in the waiting room too under your name. This was a phone line, but we can hear you fine. So, Ms. Gutierrez, you did not need to call her. Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, not this far in. Thank you, though.
Okay. Do you want her to stay in, or can she be excused?
If she could be excused, I'd appreciate it, Your Honor.
All right. Any objections?
No objection.
All right, Ms. Dominguez, I'll go ahead and remove you so you can go about your afternoon's business.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I have no witnesses, Your Honor, if Mrs. Wilburn's not available.
All right. Ms. Molinax, witnesses.
I'd call Grant Eagleston.
All right, Ms. Molinax.
Thank you. Mr. Eagleston, you've been present for the proceedings this morning, is that correct? Or this afternoon?
Yes.
And you understand that the child's been removed, and one of the things is that she tested positive for methamphetamine and marijuana. You understand that?
Yes.
Have you ever used methamphetamine in order to expose her to that?
No.
And there was an allegation that you had used or were a user of cocaine. Is that correct?
No.
And with regard to your drug testing, you had conversations about THC use with Ms. Evans. Is that right?
Yes. Like, it's the ones that you get from like Bang Bang that you can buy over the counter.
It's from what?
The ones that you can buy on like at Bang Bang, the vape shop that you can buy over the counter.
Okay. And so how long have you used those vapes?
Not really that long. I mean, since this happened, I threw them all away, but now I just work harder at work so I can be able to go to sleep.
And tell the court where you're employed.
Emerald Protective Service.
And what days of the week and hours do you work?
I work Friday and Monday from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. But with how much overtime I try to do, because it's hard to buy groceries nowadays, especially living on your own. it can be anywhere from me not having any days off to me having my usual days off, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to interrupt. I've got a text here that I have to respond to, so I'll be back just as quick as I can. Let's see, Ms. Mullinex, I believe you were still questioning your client.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Eagleston, with regard to the working, you were saying that some days or some weeks you may have no days off, and then other weeks you have your regular days off, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, correct?
Correct.
All right, and as the court told you earlier, you have the opportunity to have genetic testing, and you have requested that, correct?
Correct.
And you and I have talked about, you understand that you may not necessarily be able to be placement unless the court approves that, given your status as an alleged father, correct?
Correct.
Tell the court about your relationship with the child in this case.
Yes, I had kept Jessica Wilburn and Annalie over here a couple times where they'll spend the night, stay for a couple days, and when Jessica Wilburn does get agitated or whatever the case may be, I don't want Annalie to have a life experiencing that, because I would know how that personally goes. So.
And with regard to Jessica, did you hear Ms. Evans testify that you said you had some concerns with her mental health where she becomes, I guess, overwhelmed with a lot of things?
Yes.
When did you start seeing those things that you had concerns about in Jessica?
About a year and a half ago.
And those concerns that you had about her mental health, did you have any concerns about her taking care of your child or the child whenever she had the child?
No, I didn't have any concerns about that. The only concern I had for her was her needing to get a job and get a new vehicle, because with today's economy and everything, it's not easy for everybody.
Well, but I'm specifically talking about her mental health. Did you see any issues with her mental health where you had concerns for Annalie's physical well-being?
No, not Annalie's physical well-being. It was more directly towards me, but it's more a concern of if she's going to take out what she takes out on me onto Annalie, which I never saw that.
And with regard to Jessica's drug test positive for methamphetamine, did you have any indications that she was using methamphetamine?
No. The understanding that me and her had, if she does go back to that way, then I'm not going to go out of my way to try to help her getting a job and whatnot, because I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be involved in that. I don't want nothing to do with anything like that.
And you just said your understanding with her is if she went back to that. Did you have an understanding of her previously using methamphetamine?
Well, past history, yes, but not within me knowing her.
And you said past history, not within you knowing her. How long have you known her?
I've known her for about 2 years.
And so within that 2.5 years, you've never known her to use methamphetamine?
No.
So would it be safe to say that you had never seen her under the influence of methamphetamine?
As far as I know, no.
All right. And so she told you she had a history. Did she tell you how far back that was?
I wouldn't know exact details on that.
Well, I mean, she didn't tell you. That's my question. Did she tell you how long ago that was?
Years ago, before she started straightening up and she had her job.
Okay. And then with regard to her mental health issues, has she ever told you she was diagnosed with anything?
No.
And with regard to placement, since you said that you may some weeks work every day, is there anybody that could watch the child if you had placement of the child?
Yes, I have talked to my mother. She has been willing to help. I've also talked to my first baby mama. She is willing to help. And that's who I have so far, because I know weekends would be definitely hard to try to get a daycare to watch Annalie.
And you say your first baby mama. Can you tell the court that person's name?
Madison Knott.
And you have how many children with Madison?
2.
And does Madison have any CPS history that you're aware of?
As far as I'm aware of, no.
And your mother's name is what?
Carrie Eagleston.
And is it your understanding that she has some health problems that she's not able to be placement?
She's getting up there in age, and her health problems that she has, she just can't keep up with the special needs that a 1-year-old has. She can
And
help
so-
to a certain degree. It's just not as long as a 24-hour.
Okay, so your understanding is that she would be willing to help watch her. She just wouldn't be placement for her.
Yes.
All right, and you understand the department's concerns about any kind of drug use by the people underneath you coming in the vents?
Yes.
Is that in a certain room in your apartment or the whole thing?
I would more assume the whole thing. I know I've lost my sense of smell before COVID, and I can, whenever I come into my apartment, like either late in the night or in the morning or whatever shift I'm working on, you can definitely get a full feel of it once you enter my apartment.
And so what steps would you be taking to either change that apartment or keep that from happening so that your daughter or the child was not exposed to that?
More of a case of moving to somewhere else where I don't, Annalie's not exposed to that.
And you said earlier that the child and the mother have stayed a couple times overnight. Do you have contact with Annalie other than those couple times?
No.
Have you had mom come over where she didn't stay the night? And by mom, I
Yeah.
mean Jess.
Yes.
Was Annalie with her?
Yes.
How often does she come over, or did you see the child at all?
Throughout Annalie being born, I would say 100 or more so times. It would kind of depend on how much overtime and what shift I'm working for the week.
And so my next question would be, do you believe that you're the father of the child?
Yes.
You just want to make sure with the genetic testing?
Yes.
I pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Eagleston, did I understand someone to say, or you say that you have used THC or marijuana with Miss Wilburn?
Sorry, what?
I said, did I understand either you to testify to or someone before you that you have used THC or marijuana with Miss Wilburn?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And have you rent your apartment, is that correct?
Correct.
Have you ever reported this marijuana smell in your apartment to the landlord?
No. Normally, whenever I have access to go talk to the landlord, they work normal hours from 8 to 5, and sometimes I'm either at work or at a different position in my job, because I don't work at affiliate. I can work downtown. I can work in lots of different positions in different fields.
But there are times you said that you have 3 days off in a week.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Gutierrez, questions for Mr. Eagleston?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Eagleston, you made a statement while Ms. Mullinax was questioning you that you had concerns that Jessica Wilburn might, quote unquote, take out on Annalie what she takes out on you. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Well, during the statement, she has claimed that me and somebody else have gone out of our way to keep Annalie away from her or keep the child away from Jessica Wilburn. And throughout the time, it's been different names. I know in the statement, it definitely says Diamond, and I don't even know anybody by the name Diamond. I know before that, it was the name of Haley, and I can't keep up with how many times it's been changed.
When she's making those accusations towards you, can you tell me what her temperament is like?
Irrational.
Is there any yelling?
Yes, there is yelling. There is. That's just pretty much it. Just yelling and me telling her like, okay, let's leave. I'm gonna take you back to your grandma's, give you some time to cool down, and sometimes that works, and sometimes it stays on for a couple days.
And then you said that You have not seen her do this to Annalee, correct?
Sorry, what did you say?
And your next statement, when you were responding to Ms. Mullinex, you stated that you have not seen her treat Annalee this way. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But you also stated that you were concerned that it could happen. Would you agree?
Yes.
You indicated that it's been over a year since you started being concerned with how overwhelmed Annalee is. What steps did you take to help Jessica? I'm sorry, not Annalee, how overwhelmed Jessica is. What steps have you taken to help Jessica when she's so overwhelmed?
I have offered her to come over here and live in my apartment, try to get back on her feet. Job wise, I know we've talked to having daycare because that's the first step of Jessica having the availability to get a job. And I know I've taken her to some doctor's appointments. I've took her to WIC appointments. I've took her to go get groceries like at United. I try to help as much as I can. I know I'm not always free as much as I want to help Jessica, but
You also identified somebody as a possible caregiver for the child and said it was your other baby mama, Madison. But what was the last name?
not Knott.
And is Madison the traditional spelling?
Yes.
Okay. Does Madison use any THC or cannabis products?
No.
Have you paid any child support to Jessica for the care of Annalee?
No, I haven't paid any child support towards Jessica. I do pay child support for Madison though, with my 10-year-old.
Okay. Now you mentioned that you purchase groceries and things for Jessica. Do you know about how much you help her financially each month?
I know it's not that much because I can barely make it on my own. So that's why I do overtime just to pay for groceries.
Ask the witness.
Mr. Adams?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right, anything further with Mr. Eagleston from anyone? All right, then, Ms. Mullinex, did you have any other witnesses?
No, Your Honor, rest.
Thank you. Mr. Ingram, any witnesses?
No witnesses.
All right, Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue the department's temporary managing conservator, continue placement as is, pending home studies and paternity testing.
All right. Did we determine, Ms. Evans, do we have an ongoing home study on Tiffany Hunter at this time?
Your Honor, I believe that we do.
We do.
Yeah, I requested one. I just don't know if St. Francis has initiated it yet.
Okay. All right. That was just my question. I don't need to order it if it's already ongoing. So, okay. All right, then, based on what I've heard today and the exhibits that have been admitted, I will continue the department's temporary managing conservator. I will continue Annalee's current placement. I will order the paternity testing for Mr. Eagleston. We'll have the status hearing this case on May 13th, 2024. That will be by Zoom like today's hearing, so parties and attorneys can go on the court's online docket to find out exactly what time we'll have. I'm waiting for Ms. Wilburn, the mother. She was trying to join and fell off. In the meantime, Kim, you unmute?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Hi, good to see you again.
Yes, you too. Been a long time.
Oh, it's been forever.
Yes.
Are you ready, Kim?
I am ready.
Okay, everyone. Kim Bayless is covering for Amy today as our court reporter. Kim and I have known each other a long time. She's a very nice person, very, very patient person. She dealt with me for years and years. So
Yeah.
happy to have you, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call Randall County case. Ms. Gutierrez is with us for the department. Mr. Ingram is with us representing the children. Mr. Adams is with us representing the mother, Ms. Wilburn. I'll get back to her. She may be trying to come in on a phone line now. And Ms. Mullinex is with us representing the father, Mr. Eagleston, who is with us. I'm going to go ahead and bring the phone line in because she came in first under her name and could not connect. So I just want to see if this is her. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. We've got cases, next case starting at 9:30. I will watch the room for Ms. Wilburn to see if she tries to come back in. So, Ms. Gutierrez, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The department calls Tiffany Brown as its witness.
All right.
Your Honor. Tiffany, who do you work for?
I work for St. Francis Ministries, Texas.
And what do you do for them?
I am a permanency
And
specialist.
you filed a court report on May 1st of 2024. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Since the filing of that court report, has the child been placed with a relative?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please share the date that the child was moved?
Last Friday, 5/10/24.
What is, or rather, who is her new placement with?
Her maternal aunt, Tiffany Hunter.
In what city or state is the child now located in?
Kenyon, Texas.
And I know that's a recent placement, but is that placement taking care of the child's daily needs?
Yes, I just spoke to placement this morning.
Okay. And is the child in daycare or will she be staying at home?
Today she's not in daycare. The plan is to re-enroll her into daycare.
Okay. And is that placement prepared to take care of all of her physical needs like food and shelter?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they also committed to taking care of her other needs like emotional, medical, and education?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are the parents having visitation with Anna Lee?
Currently, Father Grant Eagleston is.
And how are those visits going for Mr. Eagleston and the child?
They're reported to go well.
Okay. And in regards to the mother, Ms. Wilburn, has she been offered visitation?
She did have one in-person visit. She did go to rehab, which is why her visits had stopped momentarily.
Do we know if she is, what city and state her rehab is in?
She's no longer in rehab.
Can you give us some more details on that if you have them?
It's my understanding that she was kicked out of Senate Court inpatient due to a fight.
And was that the Senate Court location here in Amarillo?
Yes, ma'am.
Has she made any statements regarding whether or not she intends to return to a different rehab?
She has.
And what has she stated?
She is looking into going to a rehab, hopefully out of state. If not, the recommendation is for her to complete an OSAR and all of their recommendations that come with the OSAR.
Okay. Let's see here. Now, have you created service plans for the family, for the parents?
Yes, ma'am.
And do those service plans represent the department's reasonable efforts to reunify?
Yes, ma'am.
Do they mitigate do they aim to mitigate the reasons for removal?
Yes, ma'am.
And very briefly, what were the issues surrounding the removal?
Jessica Wilburn and Anna Lee Eagleston tested positive for illegal substance. So did Mr. Eagleston.
Okay. And are these service plans uniquely tailored to the issues in the case?
Yes, ma'am.
Has Ms. Wilburn had a chance to review and sign the service plan?
Yes, ma'am.
And has Mr. Grant had, I'm sorry, I think I gave her Mr. Eagleston's last name. I apologize. Has Ms. Wilburn had an opportunity to review and sign the service plan?
Yes, ma'am.
And has Mr. Grant Eagleston had an opportunity to review and sign the service plan?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they both sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, can you please identify two to three issues or services that are uniquely tailored for Mr. Eagleston?
For Mr. Eagleston, we are requesting that he take parenting classes, that he participate in a BIP assessment, and that he create a community support to help him if Annalie were to return to his care.
And is that because of the number of hours that he works? And
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And in regards to Ms. Wilburn, can you please name 2 or 3 issues that are uniquely tailored for her issues?
We are requesting that she complete an OSAR assessment and all of its recommendations, that she also attend parenting class and also participate in a psychological assessment.
Now, in regards to the OSAR, is that a substance abuse assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And in regards to the Batterers Intervention and Prevention Program for Mr. Eagleston, can you explain why we are asking for that service for him?
In my interview with Ms. Wilburn, she made an allegation that Mr. Eagleston, in a has hit her while she was holding Annalie, and she dropped Annalie. I explained to Mr. Eagleson it is just an assessment, and he should take the assessment, and we'll see what recommendations come from that assessment.
Okay. So to clarify, the service that is on the service plan, is it only for the assessment or is it for the program?
The assessment and any recommendations that come from the assessment.
And what was Mr. Eagleston's response to Ms. Wilburn's allegations of physical abuse by him?
He denied it, but he said he would do the assessment just to go through the process of ruling that out.
Okay. Are we asking the court to make these service plans in order of the court?
Yes, ma'am.
And in regard to drug screens, are we asking that either parent be ordered to drug screen today?
Yes, ma'am.
And which parent and what type of screen?
Both Jessica and Grant, just a monitor UA.
Now, you had mentioned that Ms. Wilburn had only one visitation with the child. Has she been offered additional visitation?
She's had one virtual visit and one face-to-face visit. I let her know when she notified me that she was released from Center Court to call the visit monitor to get those started back up. So the visit monitor relays that Ms. Wilburn has not contacted her. Ms. Wilburn relays that she has. And so today I sent out a message to the visit monitor to contact me regarding Ms. Wilburn's visits.
Pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Brown, I'd ordered paternity testing at the last hearing. Do you know, has that been accomplished yet?
Mr. Eagleson will go today and Annalie will go Wednesday, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, then, Mr. Adams, questions?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Brown, has Ms. Wilburn done any services yet?
She's only attempted the Center Court inpatient, and that's it.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mullinax?
Ms. Brown, when was the conversation that you say Ms. Wilburn told you that Mr. Eagleston hit her?
This was my first meeting with her back in April.
Was that meeting after or before the investigative report was done?
After.
And were you aware that there was an allegation by Ms. Wilburn that Mr. Eagleston was using cocaine that was unsubstantiated or not substantiated?
Yes, ma'am.
And so there's only the one allegation that's coming from Ms. Wilburn, who's made another allegation that hasn't been proven, correct?
Correct.
And you said that he's going for his DNA testing today.
Yes, ma'am.
And with regard to the other services, in your report, it states that the payment, the 2054s have already been sent. Is that for all of them?
Yes, ma'am.
And so he can start any of those services at any time?
Yes, ma'am.
And was he provided a copy of that service plan with all the contact information for the providers?
Yes, ma'am.
And pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ingram?
No questions.
All right, any follow-ups from Ms. Brown?
No, Your Honor.
All right, anything further from the department?
Your Honor, the department rests. We do ask for a finding of reasonable efforts to reunify the family made by the department in creating the service plans, facilitating visitation between the parents and the child, as well as communicating with the parents.
Okay, thank you. I will make those findings. Ms. Brown, since the parents have not started their services to speak of, would it be a continuing danger to the physical health and safety of the child to be returned to either parent today?
Yes, sir.
Would it be contrary to the child's welfare to be returned to either parent today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, then, Mr. Adams, do you have any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Mullinax?
No, Your Honor, rest. Thank
Thank you. Mr. Ingram, recommendations?
Continue department as temporary managing conservator, continue placement as is. I know that she's just been placed in the last couple of days with the aunt, but Andy was able to talk to her this morning and everything seems to be going fine.
Okay. All right, then. All right, then I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, continue Annalie's current placement. I'll order the services for each parent as contained in their service plans, and I'll order both parents to complete a monitored UA drug screen by 4 p.m. today. Ms. Brown, I assume would that for both of them, would that be at Care Express?
Yes, sir. I'm Ross Osage.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Mr. Eagleston, if you'd unmute for a minute.
Yes.
Do you have transportation to get to your drug screen today?
Yes, the one on
Okay.
Osage.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay. If you'll just stay unmuted here, I need to tell you something else too. I need to inform you that the services that are contained in the service plan that you signed, excuse me, they become a court order today. At a final hearing, if you haven't worked those services, then your parental rights could be altered or terminated. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. A little bit different on your part. If it comes back, obviously, if it comes back, you're not the biological father, then you won't be required, obviously, to do any services and you'll be dismissed from the lawsuit. So, okay, Mr. Adams, if you would inform Ms. Wilburn of the her parental rights being altered or terminated if she doesn't complete the services in her service plan.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. That will conclude this hearing. For those of you involved, I'll be back at 9:30 to call another Randall County case.